Hi there, welcome to The Beard Has All Grown Up. Now this is a response video to the idea game channel's talk about body types within video games. Now what I found interesting about the video when he was doing this is that he was talking about the new female tank from Overwatch, a game that combines Team Fortress with Dota to create a very interesting hybrid. Now, when they released this female tank of theirs, they could have gone down the easy route of just making it look like a lingerie model with a little bit of muscle. But they didn't do that. Instead, they got basically the tank from Team Fortress and basically gender bended him into a female. I should say Team Fortress True, because I think... never mind. Anyway, so yeah, like I said, they gender bended him into a lovely looking voluptuous Russian woman. And this is very interesting because when Blizzard was making World of Warcraft, originally the Tauren, the Orcs, and the Trolls females were going to look more like their male counterparts. However, a lot of game players didn't like this. So this is why the races now in World of Warcraft look basically very weird. The females look very over-sexualized, I should say, and it looks very weird to see the male and female counterparts next to each other generally. And another thing I've noticed sometimes in a lot of our meetings is that sometimes when the villain, usually does something evil, something, basically evil in some sort of form or shape, it's not uncommon that they usually make this villain hideously deformed. It doesn't happen as much as it used to, but it does happen on occasion, and I do find it interesting when it does happen, to sort of emphasize how evil he is. That's what I should say, instead of, oh, the evil done never mind, too late. This is what happens when you don't write down a script. You forget your lines. Oh great, now I sound like a broken record. Anyway. And it's just interesting that I find it a lot easier to think of a lot of disfigured male characters, not so much in video games, but in a general medium sense. Female characters, not so much. Most female characters who seem to stray away from basically how a female character generally is supposed to look like is generally usually the villain of the story. Probably some good examples of what I mean would be Mother from Dragon Age Origin, and probably that one female character I can't remember the name of from Mortal Kombat was the big huge teeth. I think she was also a villain. And I think also there was a four-armed version of the big male hunking four-armed guy, and I think she was also evil too. Because when I try to think of more characters like the female one I was just mentioning from Overwatch, I had a really hard time to think of many female characters that had her sort of build, or were generally strong. Because if I use comics for example, a lot of their super strong female characters, or just generally strong female characters, always basically have a very I would say a very idealized view on how a sort of muscle-built woman should be. And it's just basically that when I try to think about a character like her, it's very small, I would say. I can only think of She-Force, Muscle Princess from Adventure Time. Oh yeah, and I should mention She-Force is from Heroics. And that other female character in Adventure Time, I can't remember her name now, the one who wears the little cat head thing. Yet but I don't have such a hard time of thinking of, well, I should say it's also a little bit the same for evil female characters with this sort of muscle build, are not uncommon too to appear, like Mother Russia from Kick-Ass, and that one female character I can't remember the name of either again, from Young Justice, this really big buff one. And the last thing I'm going to finish off with this video, if I don't forget my lines again, is that it's interesting when you have a game, say like, if you can see it or not, Dragon's Dogma, in my honest opinion has one of the best character creation systems. Alongside maybe what was the second Saints Row game. Mainly because it was the only time I could ever play a game where I could actually make a female midget. And the body creation system was so great in it that I had basically connected to my character more than any other game I've really played. Because I know so many RPGs generally try to focus mostly on the face area. Because that's generally probably more easier to program than the body type. But I find it's very interesting in Dragon Age, as I just said, about all the different body types I could create and how I feel more connected and how unrealistically they could look and how realistically they could look. And it's just an interesting thing that I wish more RPGs would do, is their creation system. It's also interesting in some RPGs like Fable 2 that if you eat food, your character gets fat. If you give your female character a beard or put your male character in a skirt, it will actually affect their sexual, or whatever you call it, the sexy meter, or whatever you want to call it, the sexual attention that people will have with them. It will actually decrease in the game, which is interesting. I found that very interesting for a game mechanic, for a game to really do that, because I have never really seen many games try that. I also find it interesting if you go down the path of basically using melee weapons, your character will actually buff up, including the females. And they really do look buff. They don't look like the lingerie models that I mentioned that appear in a lot of comic books. And I find this interesting because another game that I found really had an interesting mechanic that actually was more story specific, and this was, I think, a lot more better done than in any game I have. Honestly, actually, to be honest, I can't think of any game that really has tried this, to be honest, to really correct myself before I stumble into a mistake. And that was basically Vampire the Masquerade. Basically what I was trying to say, Bloodlines, is based off a pen and pencil role-playing game by the same name, without the Bloodline department in there. And the game's idea is that there's several different vampire clans that are all cursed with different things. Now, one of the clans was the Nosferatu, and what I found very interesting is that your very physical appearance, due to your clan's curse of being hideously deformed, made the game very interesting to play. Unfortunately, I can never finish the game because, let's just say, trying to work with old games usually ends up getting my computer killed and causing all sorts of problems, but it made it very interesting, I was going to say, to play the game, because a lot of things I couldn't actually do properly anymore in the missions. There was a lot of times when I tried to talk up to main characters and they immediately started to freak out around me. There was like one mission where I had to enter a house, but I couldn't get past the bodyguard if I directly talked to him. He just pretty much said to me, "Oh, what the fuck are you supposed to be?" or something like that. Not quite with the swear word, but something similar like that. Or if I went to this guy where I usually buy my stuff from, he immediately said, "Oh, what kind of crackhole thing are you? Oh, you stink." And I only once had a positive response from one person. He said, "Hey, I like your body modding. I know a friend who's really into that." And I find this is a very interesting way of using a physical-based mechanic in a game to emphasize the story. And I really wish some more games would really explore this, your physical appearance affecting on the world. Because I gotta admit, it's certainly an eye-opener when you do play this game and how this mechanic system really forces you to differently play the game. Because in Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, you have to basically, not reveal your vampire powers, or you basically, get humanity on your ass and basically trying to kill you and all that sort of stuff. Call this thing Masquerade, which is a little bar that basically shows how much, you basically broken the laws. Nosferatu, you instantaneously pretty much break the masquerade if anyone gets near you. That's how deformed you are. And like I said, game industry, can you please make more games like this? It's a great fun to play a character like that who has to hide in the shadow due to the way they look. I'm sorry if this talk was a bit of a mess and it's not very well structured, but hopefully it got you thinking about a few things. Also, I'm apologizing if I haven't done any more videos of my Let's Play of Neverwinter's Night 2. I am promising to get back to that. It's just that I've been distracted lately with a lot of games I've been playing lately. Anyway, I hopefully you enjoyed this video. Auf Wiedersehen.